Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me. Luke 9:23. The call of the cross is not a soft whisper. It is not a gentle invitation to comfort or moral safety. It is a thunder in the soul, a divine rebellion against everything false within us. When Jesus said, "Take up your cross," he was not speaking to saints already polished by holiness. He was speaking to the trembling, the ordinary, the broken, to those whose hearts still carried the dream of control. To follow Christ is not to join a religion, but to walk into a fire that burns away everything that is not love. The cross is not an ornament to hang around the neck. It is a sword driven into the heart of the ego. It divides the false from the true, the superficial from the eternal. Every generation has tried to soften these words, to turn them into metaphor or poetry. But Jesus never spoke metaphorically when he invited men to die. He meant death, not the death of the body, but the death of the self that clings, that demands, that judges, that fears. The cross is the shock of God's truth, the unbearable invitation to become fully alive by first dying to everything. Counterfeit the death of the self to deny yourself is the hardest command ever given to humankind. It is not the rejection of one's worth, for we are all made in the image of God, but the surrender of the false identity we have built around that image. The self that must die is not who you truly are. It is the shadow self, the collection of desires, fears, opinions, and vanities that whisper, "I am the center of the world." To deny this self is not to destroy your humanity, but to reclaim it. It is to return to your original innocence, where you no longer live as the dictator of your life, but as a vessel of divine will, Jesus. Path begins where pride ends. To deny yourself is to step off the throne of your ego and let love rule instead. And that dethroning hurts, because the ego dies screaming. It will disguise itself as morality, ambition, even religion. It will quote scripture to protect itself. But beneath every defense lies one fear, the fear of disappearing, and yet that disappearance, that sacred death, is the doorway to freedom. Only when I die does Christ truly live within the daily cross. Cross is not a one-time event. It is not something carried once on a dusty road to Calvary. It is daily, ordinary, constant. Taught to take up your cross daily means to accept every inconvenience, every rejection, every humiliation that refines the soul. It is the courage to forgive when it is easier to hate. It is the willingness to be misunderstood and not retaliate. It is the quiet act of patience when the world mocks your gentleness. The cross is not tragedy. It is training. Each pain, each loss, each disappointment becomes a chisel in the hand of God, shaping you into His likeness. There are no small crosses. Every act of surrender, even the silent one, is cosmic in its impact. For every time you say, "Not my will, but yours," the kingdom of heaven expands a little more within you. Taking up the cross daily is to say yes to transformation again, and again, and again, even when it feels like crucifixion. The paradox of surrender there is a mystery at the heart of the gospel. You only find your life when you lose it. This is not poetic paradox, it is divine law. Every attempt to preserve your comfort, your control, your importance, only strengthens the chains that bind you. The more you cling, the more you bleed. But the moment you open your hands and surrender, grace floods in. Surrender is not weakness, It is the fiercest courage of all to stand unguarded before God, to let Him strip away every illusion, and to trust that love will remain when all else is gone. Jesus did not call us to despair. He called us to die, so that we may live in a way the world cannot comprehend. The true disciple is not the one who succeeds, but the one who surrenders without resentment. When you finally stop fighting reality and allow the divine will to unfold, you discover the secret. The cross was never meant to crush you. It was meant to resurrect you. Jesus, the model of the cross is not only an event in history, it is the revelation of divine nature at Calvary. Love did not simply endure pain, it became pain transformed. Jesus' suffering was not defeat. It was victory disguised as failure. Every nail, every thorn, every drop of blood whispered the same truth. Love cannot be killed. He did not resist the injustice. He absorbed it. He took the venom of hatred into His own body and transformed it into mercy. The cross was not punishment. It was alchemy. It turned sin into forgiveness, death into life, humiliation into glory. To be a disciple is to imitate that alchemy, to absorb darkness and release light, to be crucified by the world and still love it. That is what it means to carry your cross, the hidden glory of suffering in every human life. There will be a cross. We spend much of our days trying to escape it, decorate it, or trade it for something lighter. But the cross we resist is the very bridge to our redemption. Suffering is not the absence of God. It is often the proof of His neat erroneous. When all comfort is stripped away, what remains is pure presence. Pain burns away illusion. Sorrow purifies love. The world calls suffering failure, but heaven calls it formation. It is in the furnace of grief that compassion is forged. It is in the silence of loss that faith learns to breathe without answers. Those who have suffered deeply and still love, they are the saints of the earth. They carry invisible crowns. They have learned that the cross they feared most was secretly made of light. The rebirth beyond the cross of crucifixion carries within it a resurrection. But the tomb is not a doorway you can force open. You must wait in the dark, trust in the silence, and believe that something holy is happening unseen. After the cross comes the dawn. After the surrender comes the song. When you finally stop running from death, death of pride, death of control, death of illusion, you awaken to the immortal life that was always waiting behind it to carry your cross. Daily is not a call to misery, but to transformation. The ego dies, but the soul is born. The heart breaks, but love expands. And in the ruins of what you once called me, the image of God begins to shine. Resurrection is not a reward for suffering. It is the natural consequence of truth, the truth that nothing real can be destroyed, the truth that the one who dies in love is the one who finally lives. The shock of truth. Jesus' words are not gentle philosophy, they are a revolution. Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me. This is not a path for the comfortable. It is the road of fire and freedom. He did not call us to admire Him, but to become like Him. And that transformation demands death, not of the body, but of everything false that pretends to live. The cross is the key that unlocks the human heart. It is both judgment and mercy, death and birth, darkness and blazing light. It is the place where man's hatred meets God's forgiveness and love wins. If you would follow him, you must face this truth. Discipleship is not about perfection. It is about participation in the mystery of divine love that redeems through surrender. To deny yourself is to let go of your illusions of control. To take up your cross is to accept reality as the place where God meets you, and to follow him is to walk step by step into the infinite depth of love that no suffering can destroy. The cross still stands, not as a monument of death, but as a mirror of divine life. It calls to every soul, die before you die, and you will never truly die again.